Hello, everyone. Welcome to Simple Budgets using Excel. My name is Evan. I am a public services librarian at the Plano Public Library. And today, Courtney is here to help us with chat facilitating as well as tech support. Before we begin, I'll let everybody know about a few ground rules that we've set up. Firstly, you are muted during the class and the video are blocked. You will still be able to see my screen, but I cannot see you and you will not see me. Now, please take note that this class will be recorded and it will be posted to our YouTube channel later. At the top of your screen, under the View Options menu, you can see the options to exit full screen if you need to get other things on your computer, such as Excel, which will be very helpful in the second half of today's class. You are welcome to ask questions throughout the program or to request that we repeat information at any time. You will see an icon at the bottom of your screen that says chat. Click on that and it will open the chat box. The chat is set to go to panelists only, so it will only be seen by me and Ms. Courtney. Other participants will not be able to see your message. Just please take note that if it's an inappropriate comments, it will result in immediate removal from the class. So let's not get there. For any questions, if they are right on topic, we will try to answer them right away. For any other questions, we'll probably want to save them towards the end of the class and we will address them one by one. Again, you're welcome to send those questions anytime during the class. All right, now let's start with today's program, Simple Budgets using Excel. Today, we'll be introducing how to use budget with the Microsoft app Excel. It's not a class that will focus a lot on the basic computer skills or even basic Excel skills for that matter. We do have other programs, events, and resources that can help you with that, which I will go over at the end of the class today. What I will do is to provide an overview of what is budgeting, how to choose the appropriate budget template that works for yourself, how to navigate through it, and how to create one. Making a personal budget that tracks our spending on a monthly basis is one of those things that we always hear that we should do, but it just doesn't always happen, right? First of all, it just doesn't seem that fun, and it seems restrictive. And to keep budgeting it seems to be a tall task. It's hard to know where to begin and what to do with it. Hopefully, by the end of the class, we'll be clearing some of those concerns out, and that we will know that creating a budget is an essential step towards financial stability. We will go over the benefits of keeping track of your expenses, as well as some tips to help you become more financially literate. About halfway through, we'll also demo how to create your own monthly expense tracker in Excel, and you're welcome to follow along when we get there. Here's a brief agenda for today. We're going to be introducing budgeting first, and I want to show you how does a budgeting spreadsheet work in Excel with something that I have created before today's class. Then we're going to go step by step on how to create that budget spreadsheet that I show you. And lastly, I want to show you what Excel already has, which are some budgeting templates that came along with the app. And I want to show you how to get there if you feel that's what works better for you. All right, what is budgeting and why is it important? Well, we did go over it a little bit. Budgeting, to put it to simple terms, is a plan to spend your money. You will know that how much you have available for spending, how much you plan on spending, and we're going to compare that to how much you actually have, your income for the month, and how much you actually spent. By comparing those numbers, you will be able to find out in what areas have you been overspending, and in what areas maybe you have a bit more wiggle room. By looking at the numbers of a budgeting spreadsheet, it will help you attain financial goals, such as saving for vacation or saving for mortgage or rent or any other goals that you have. If you want to just save money without a clear purpose for now, it definitely helps you in that regard too. But above all, it is a sense of being in control. That's one of the key, one of the essence of staying stable financially. That you know at any given point that this is how much money you have, and this is how much is available for spending. Uh, Nothing will catch you off guard there. To create a monthly budget, there are a few things that we'll need to prepare for. Uh, you want to gather your financial paperwork as much as you can. That would include your a summary of your income. It can be your check, uh, or at the end of the year, W-2s and other kind of paperwork definitely help your monthly pay stub. We want to use those financial paperwork to calculate your income as well as creating a list of monthly expenses. So that might mean that you want to track some of your receipts throughout the month, uh, from online bills to shopping receipts that you print out at the kiosk. By using those numbers and putting them in the spreadsheet, we are going to be able to also determine what expenses are fixed, the kind of things you must spend from month to month, such as your bill, and what are some of the other expenses that are variable from month to month, such as going to the movies or eating out. Once you compare the numbers, you can make adjustments to expenses based on the findings, and that will help you attain your financial goal. Now, today we will be using Excel. Excel is a app that creates spreadsheets and is part of the Microsoft suite products. Excel is it's not a free app, so if you want to follow along on your own device and you haven't purchased it, you will not be able to have access to it. Excel has two versions. One is in the app, the desktop version, and the other one is the web version. Today, we will be using the desktop version, so it will look slightly different from yours if you're using the online Office 365. If you don't have Excel at all, or if you just don't want to attain it, you can also use other substitutes. For instance, if you have a Google account, the Google Suite actually gives you an app, online app named Google Sheets. It does almost the exact same thing with cells and rows and columns and calculations and all that stuff. Uh, but again, that will look a little different from the Excel functions and menus. Google account is free, so you can sign up for one if you don't have one. Just that unfortunately today we will not be focusing on that app. There are a couple ways to use Excel to track expenses. There are some templates that came along with the app, and today we will focus a lot of our time on creating our own spreadsheets. Another cluster of knowledge we want to go over before we really get started are some key terms. I'm going to briefly go over those, but I think a lot of those may not fully make sense until we actually look at an Excel spreadsheet, which we will do so right after the slide. Now, when you're looking at an Excel workbook, the workbook refers to the actual Excel file. And within the same book, much like a real notebook, there are numerous sheets, and we call them worksheets. Each worksheet is a single spreadsheet. Within the same sheet, it's divided by columns and rows into grids. Every one of those grids is called a cell. And in those cells, we're going to enter information such as text and also numbers. A cell range refers to a group of cells. What Excel does that some of the other apps cannot do with creating a table, for instance, is that Excel has a very strong function in creating formulas. A formula is just like any other mathematical formula where it can perform a task such as adding, subtracting, or finding the average or total. And the function is just a pre-written formula, and that's already a part of the Excel program. All right, well, let's take a look at what that looks like. This is a spreadsheet that I have created before our class. And if you look at the chat box right now, Courtney has sent this exact file to everybody. You're welcome to download it and keep it for reference. Throughout the next part of the class, you can toggle between the Zoom class as well as the Excel file, or you can hold on to it for now and just use it as reference later. Now, a cell, if you, well, actually, let me enlarge the screen a little bit. Let's see. View, and let me go to Zoom. All right. Hopefully everybody is able to see it a little bit better. If you look at my mouse right now, you're going to see there's a box that has been moving around. Well, I'm moving it. Right now it's in F. Right now it's in F1. All right. Every single one of those little boxes are what I was calling a cell. A cell range would be something like this, or this, or this, or any other cell range. It will refers to all of the cells within columns B through F and rows 3 to 7. A worksheet, if we look at down here, we're going to see a menu bar. It starts with template, then January 2023 and February 2023. Each one of those is a separate sheet. So here's the first sheet. Here is the second sheet, which we were on just now. And here's the third sheet. Here's a plus little sign that allows us to create a new sheet. So we can have many sheets in the same workbook. Well, what's a workbook? This whole entire file is a workbook that includes those 3 spreadsheets for now. What's a formula? When we are typing in a formula, we want to start with the equal sign. So everybody, you can see that my cursor is currently in cell G3. I'm going to type in the equal sign. All right, what about 1 plus 1? What is that? 2. Ah, all right. Excel works great as a calculator. But what Excel can really do too is to give us the sums between cells. For instance, I want to do not just 1 plus 1, but here we have a number in C3. That's 2200. I want to add that to the number in D3. So I'm going to do C3 plus D3. And I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. 4400. Good job, Excel. So that's a formula. Functions are pre-built formulas in Excel. Usually, that means that I don't have to manually type in whatever I'm trying to calculate. It can do something like sum. All right, sum is just exactly what it sounds like. It will help us calculate the sum of something. So when we're typing in the function, it will go equal sign, then the abbreviation of a certain function, such as sum. And after that, we're going to have a parentheses. All right, this would tell Excel of what we're trying to summing up. Again, let's try C3 and D3. Finish the parentheses, enter. Again, it gives us the correct number. All right, later on during the class, in fact, starting pretty soon, we're going to start to make a spreadsheet from scratch. So we're going to go over a lot of those key concepts then. But before we really get started there, I want to show everybody what's our end goal, which is the spreadsheet we're looking at right now. On the very top, we're going to see some menu headings, such as category, monthly account, budget, monthly actual, and difference. Here in the blue grids, we have expenses, and here we have savings. So what we're actually trying to do here? Well, you see, in the very top, we have income. This will tell you how much money we have earned during this month. Job A gave us $2,200, and job B gave us $1,800. So that means we have a total of 4,000. But wait, this is under the budget column. That means that this is our projected income. Here's the monthly actual. It's possible that you have some unexpected income and you want to put in here, but really, for the most part, those numbers should stay the same. Your projected income and your actual income. What's the difference? 0. All right. Now, what about expenses? Well, again, our budget for, say, groceries was $300. We want to spend about $300 this month on groceries. But actually, we spent $332. And here, under the difference, it's highlighted in red, which tells us, oh, well, actually, we're $32 over our budget. Same thing here, from 150 to 221, we're $71 over our budget. But under gasoline, it looks like we were planning on spending $75, and we ended up only spending $65. So we're actually $10 below budget, which is why it's green and very nice looking there, very soothing. All right, we're gonna go down to the savings tab. Actually, before we go that, here is a subtotal as well. Expenses subtotal, we plan on spending $2,500. Net income, $1,500 is the result of 4,000 minus 25. So we have $4,000 of income. We plan on spending 2,500. That means that we have a net income of 1,500. Well, actually, we have spent $2,554. That means that we have $1,446 instead. The difference in both cases are that we are about $54 over our budget. Here under savings, it means that we are maybe saving towards some financial goal. For instance, you want to save $500 to a pool of money for emergencies. And we did hit our goal. Here's our planned 500. We did end up saving 500. That's good. We also want to save toward our annual vacation, or there's a big wedding coming up and we want to save towards that. So in total, we want to save $1,300 this month. And we did end up saving $1,300. That means that from the net income of $1,500, we subtracted $1,300 and we have $200 of discretionary fund. We can spend that $200 however we want, if that's how you prefer it, because you have hit all of the financial goals that you have planned out for the month. Well, in fact, because we overspent just a little bit, we took out the difference of $54 from the 200. So we have about $146 left instead. One last thing I want to go over is that this spreadsheet looks like we're very close to our financial goal, only $54. But if you want to start keeping in a budgeting, very likely that in the first month, you will be very off the mark. Perhaps there are some income that you're mislooking or some expenses you have not been aware of. And it turns out, oh, you're just hundreds of dollars over budget and maybe even more. That is okay. When you're first getting started, it will be a little bit challenging there. Don't be too hard on yourself. All right. Now we're about to move on to the demonstration part. So I would like to pause here and give everybody a minute or so to ask any questions that you may have about budgeting in general and what we're actually trying to achieve here with our spreadsheet. And if everybody's ready, we can move on to the next section. All right. I'm going to start a new file. So here in the same Excel program, I'm going to go to File in the top left of the menu bar. Click on New, and I'm going to start with a blank notebook. Here it is. All right. Now, for everybody to see it a little bit better, I'm going to zoom it in to about 200. This doesn't mean that I have enlarged the file itself. It's just a way for us to see a little bit clearly because Zoom screen can be a little small. All right. Now, I just don't like the current font of Calibri. I want to highlight the whole workbook and change it to a different font. I can do that by clicking on this little corner right here between A and 1. When I click on that, it highlights the entire workbook. I'm going to change the font going up here from Calibri to, how about Century Gothic? That's good. All right. Size 11, maybe a little small. I want 12 instead. Okay, great. I would also like to change the column width. Currently, I feel like the columns are just a little bit too narrow. I can, of course, drag the column width by moving my mouse in between each of those columns, click on and dragging them. But there are lots of columns to drag. So let's try to see if we have another way of doing it. I'm going to again highlight the whole thing. Let's see if we have a cell group on here. Let's see. Maybe under page layout. Well, it's hard to find it. That's okay. Because right here under tell me what you want to do, Excel has built in this tool to help us to always find exactly what we're trying to do here. I cannot find the column width. So I type in column width and under formatting from the search results, it does give me the option of column width right here. So I click on that. And how about 20? Everything suddenly get enlarged just a little bit more. There are lots of items on those menus, so this little search bar is going to be very helpful to us. All right, now let's start typing in a few things. Remember in our other spreadsheet here, I have different headings and different numbers. We're going to start to recreate those. So under B1, let's go ahead and type in category. Under C1, let's do monthly budget. Under D1, monthly actual. And under E1, we have difference. Okay. Now, I want to make them look just a little different. They're the menu headings after all. So let's go in and highlight those from A1 to E1. I'm going to make them bold. By going on the top, click on the home menu. A lot of the basic functions are here. I'm going to click on bold. And I want them to be centered within their grids. Here's center alignment. Click on that. And I want a color. Let's say I want this soft yellow here. It's not the same color I chose for the other one, but hey, I feel like yellow for now. All right. Now, what about the next one? We want to do, wants to start a section for income. All right. Now that looks a little different from the other one, doesn't it? If we look at the previous sheet, it looks like income is right in the middle. And in fact, all of those are all merged together. Well, there is a function that we're going to use repeatedly today, which is called merge and center. So we want A2 to E2, all of them merged together. And here it is, merge and center. That means that there will no longer be the B2, C2, D2, but all of them get combined to A2, and it automatically centers my text to the middle of that cell. Again, I want it to be bold, and I want to choose a different color for this one. You know, green looks good. Green income. Now, under A6, likewise, we want to put in expenses. And we're going to do the same thing, highlighting those this range of cells by dragging my mouse over from A6 to E6. I'm going to click on bold. And what's next? Merge and center. There it is. And let's do a different color for this one, perhaps a little bit reddish. We're going to spend money out in red. All right. Next, we're going to go to B3. Here, we're going to type in job A, salary. And here's job B, salary. Theoretically, you can have more rows here. I can do that by selecting a row, right click on it, and I can click on insert. So if you have other ways of income, you can click on that. For now, I'm going to undo this by clicking on the undo button on the top left of the screen, or I can use the hotkeys Control Z. Under B5, I want a subtotal. I want the income subtotal. That's good. All right. Now, I want to select A5 and B5. Click on them. I'll do merge and center. I'll do bold. It seems to be a pretty important cell there. But you know, I don't quite want them to line up in the middle, so I want them to align on the right this time. There we go. All right. Now, that's pretty good for income. What about expenses? Well, let's see if we have some kind of expenses here. We have, let's think of them. We need to spend on food. Okay. The car would require some spending. We definitely want to take care of our health. There are some utilities. Unfortunately, we have to pay every month. We might have some debt. And finally, we have some miscellaneous spending. And by the way, I want them all to align to the right so they look a little bit better. Now, under this B column, we want to add some subcategories to each of those big categories. Food, for instance, I want to differentiate that between groceries and eating out. Remember how we created a row earlier by right-clicking on that and click on insert? We're going to do the same here. So I'm going to right-click on that, click insert, always select the row that's below the row that you are going to insert to. So I want two categories of food. Let's say for car, I want two categories. So I'm just going to do this fairly quickly here. For health, I can think of two things. So I'll insert and insert. For utilities, oh, there are quite a few. So let's do Let's do 4 more just in case. For debt, we have a few loans. We have perhaps a student loan. We have an auto loan or some others. I'll insert 2 right there. For miscellaneous, we probably have a few, but we don't have to insert a row since there are some open space down below. All right, let's do groceries, eating out. For car, we have gasoline. We also need to spend on maintenance. For health, we want to spend some on fitness, as well as doctor visits, and perhaps any medicine that we need to take. Utilities, we need to spend some water or sewer, or perhaps just water. Gas, well, to differentiate, I'm just gonna keep it as gas, as in natural gas. Electricity bill, internet and cable, and perhaps there's a separate cell phone bill. And under debt, let's do auto loan, student loans, mortgage, or that may be rent. For miscellaneous, I do want to spend a few on entertainment, and we want some for our pet, or yeah, that's good. Okay. Well, how much do we spend in total? We do want that. So let's do expense subtotal in A24. And like what we did earlier with income subtotal, here we can select A24 and B24, click on bold, merge, and we want them to align to the right. A25, here is where we are going to take our expense subtotal and our income subtotal and see how much do we have left. So we want net income, and we're going to do the exact same thing as before. Merge and center, bold, and align to the right. All right. Now we have all of our data here. We also want to do some functions. This is the part where we're going to pay some close attention here, and I want to go over this a little bit slowly. I know that I have been typing those fairly fast, so if you do have some questions over this part, please ask. All right. We're going to go back to cell C5. Let's see, where's C5? Well, here it is. If I ever have trouble finding it, on the very top left, here's the name box. I can always type that, and it will help me highlight to the right box. If I want to go to C7, there it is too. All right, let's go to C5. Income subtotal. We want to enter a formula or a function here that would help us automatically calculate the results without us having to manually calculate, which is prone to error, and it does take a lot of time. So instead, we want Excel to do the heavy lifting for us. Here under C5, we're going to use the sum function. Remember, we can do that with a number of different ways. One way to do is to type equal sign sum parentheses. We want to sum up what? C3 and C4. Drag them, parentheses, enter. Well, we didn't put any numbers in them, so right now the subtotal is 0. Well, we want the same thing for our D5 as well. Here's an easy way of doing it. Instead of typing in the whole thing and drag another range, if I highlight this cell with an existing function, you can see that under the top right here, there's a little extra dot, a little square dot. If I move my mouse over it, my mouse changes shape to a different kind of cross, I can click, drag, and drag it over. That actually copies the function of the same cell. And Excel is smart enough to know that it needs to apply the function so that it makes sense for this new cell. So right here, if we see on top, this is sum of C3 and C4. Well, this one is the sum of D3 and D4. Excel was able to recognize that for us. All right. Now I want more sums. I want to sum up our expenses. So under C24, I want to do sum. And I want to add up all of the things we have spent so far. So let's go from C7 to C23, parentheses, enter. And likewise, we can copy that function over to D24. All right, now what about the C25? Here's the net income. Remember when we went over earlier, this number would tell us how much money we have left. So we'll want a subtraction instead. We're gonna do equals to. What we're subtracting, we're using, let's see. Oh, sorry, I think I skipped ahead a little bit. E E3, here it is. Here it is. We're gonna do the difference. Well, same thing. We want to do a subtraction, so we want to use that. D3 minus C3. That would give us the difference between the monthly actual and the monthly budget. Same thing here. We want the job B salary difference as well, and we can drag it down right here. In fact, how about we drag it one more to E5? That way we know the difference between the income subtotal as well. Under E7, we're going to do the same thing. But this time, instead of using D minus C, we want to use C minus D. This is because we want to find out the difference between how much we have spent and how much budget we have planned for. In the end, we're going to use the number of income subtracted by our expenses. So we want to reverse the mathematical relationship here. All right, we have a 0. And again, we want to drag it down to 24. All right. And now under E25, we have the net income. We're going to do equals to D minus C. All right. Now that we have lots of our formulas in place, we can adjust the formatting a little bit. We want to go to the columns A and E and rows 1 through 25. We can select the range by selecting a cell and start dragging. This would highlight everything that we have worked on so far. Let's put a border over them. By doing that, we're going to go to the top left part of the menus. And here we have a selection of all sorts of borders that we can put on. Click on all borders. And now there's a solid line in between each of the grids that we have selected. That's good. Now, under A1 through E1, here we have the top menu bar, and we want to make them a little bit special. We want it to be a little bit easier to read. So instead of this thin line right between row 1 and 2, we want to give it a little bit of a thicker border. So on the top left, again under borders, we can select the one that says thick bottom border. Here it is. And under A4 and E4, again, that's between job B salary and income subtotal. Let's give that a thick border as well to make it easier to read. And let's do another one. You know what? Actually, let's select that to uh, a bottom double border as well. Kind of gives it a different look. Likewise, we want to do the same thing for uh, here between pet and expense total. Let's give it a double border, as well as between expense subtotal and give that a double border. This way it looks a little bit different from the thick border on top. All right. Now, for column A, we did leave that column out. The reason we had this is because we want a category summary, right? Groceries and eating out both belong to food, but now it seems like this column is just a little bit too wide. We can click on here and drag it to make it smaller, but we can also double click on that border and Excel will automatically adjust for us. That looks nice and neat. Now we're going to go to C7 and we're going to drag all the way over to E25. All right. This is where a lot of our numbers are going to be. In a second, we're going to do the same thing for income as well. Right now, the numbers, it just looks like a zero, but we're about to put a currency in them. We want them to look like monetary numbers. So we're going to go to Format Cells. Let's see. We can right click on the range and click on Format Cells in this pop-up menu. In this first tab right here, it says number. Right now, what's selected is the general category. If we go to number, we see that there are a few different things that we can select. For instance, we can change the number of decimal places we have. By clicking on that, increasing or decreasing, it would have more or less decimals behind the point. We want to keep it for 2 as customary for monetary numbers. And we can click on the use 1000 separator there as well. Next, it asks us what we want to do with negative numbers. Well, let's do the one with the red font and with some parentheses. Here, we also have an option of changing that to currency. And it gives us an extra option of selecting the symbol. We can just keep it as the $sign and click on OK. All right. So all of a sudden, all of those numbers have a $sign on them as well as 0.00, the correct formatting that we have just done for now. Let's do the same thing, highlight them, right click, format cells. Under number, we can give it a 1000 separator. We can give it the red font and parentheses for negative numbers. And for currency, we can do a $sign. All right. Let's try our spreadsheet out. Earlier, in the other sample that I have given everybody, under income, I can do $22, and salary for job B also have $22. The total is 44. Same thing here. It automatically calculates. What about groceries? Let's see, our budget was $300 and the monthly actual was 332. And very well, Excel does tell us that there's a difference of $32 and it's a negative number, right? We are $32 over our budget. Similarly, we have under gasoline, We planned for $75, and here we have spent $65 instead. So that means that we have $10 under our budget. If you wish to, any of the numbers that have a positive number next to it, we can give it a separate shade by coloring it green. Or let's do a softer green. That way, at a glance, you can see which numbers are over and which numbers are under. You'll know to spend a little bit less on groceries, or alternatively, increase your planned budget for groceries because you have underplanned. Either adjustment is fine as long as it makes sense to you. All right, under net income, I realize I have forgotten to put that one in. Let's see. Here we have C5 minus C24. Let's put that right over. Oh, oops. Oh yeah, well, naturally, because I didn't fill in all the numbers in there too, but that's okay. I'm going to drag that one over and make sure we have the same number there. All right. Now, in the original sample, we also have an actual section here with savings. The savings would tell us what we want to add, what we want to subtract from our net income and save it towards a goal. So we're going to create this section next. And to save some time, I'm going to copy our data from the sample here and copy it over. Oh, didn't quite work for me. Let's see. Here, here. All right, so this way we're all caught up. All right, we're going to do the same thing for the savings section. We have a header for savings. We want to do merge and center, bold, and let's give it a different shade, a blue shade. We want to save for 3 different goals. We can do an emergency. We have one for annual vacation, as well as one on a potential wedding that we're saving towards. And just like before, we want to find out what's the savings subtotal. And we want to merge and center those, align them to the right, and make them bold, just like before. Again, just like before, we want a thick border underneath savings. And we want a double bottom border here under savings subtotal. Now, for C 27 to 29, we want to sum those up for savings. So we have equals to sum. Oh, and we drag it over to make sure we have the sum of all 3. And we can drag it over here to know the subtotal for both the actual and planned. Under, let's see, E30, here we want to know the difference, equals to C30 minus D30. Now under C31, here we want to know how much income we still have left. So we have discretionary fund, highlight, merge, bold, and right. we have C25 minus C20. Want to drag it over. And under the difference between E31, we have D31 minus C31 to find the difference there. So the idea here is that we're adding up those numbers together to know the total of our savings. And we use our net income to subtract by the savings subtotal. That way we know how much money we have left. We're saving $500 for emergencies and $300 for annual vacation, as well as $500 for the wedding. Well, we're saving a total of $1,300. And according to our calculation here, we have $1,900 left. Subtract that by $1,300, and we have a total of $600 left. Now, let's move over to our simple budget sample spreadsheet here, where I have completed the rest of the data here, which I've spent just a little bit more on some of the other expenses while having the same savings. That means I have a total of $200 left. And because I have overspent just a little bit, I have $146 left for this month that I can spend on anything that I would like. This spreadsheet was sent to everybody through chat, so ultimately it will look like this. For the savings, we just did not go over the formatting, but all of the functions are the same, as you can see by highlighting each of those cells and going to the top to the formula bar. This one right here under E28, we have D28 minus C28. That way you know exactly how they arrive at the number 0 there. One last thing before I move away from this Excel is that I want to show you that Excel has some built-in templates there as well. So if I go to top left, File, if I want to create a new file, I click on New, and it gives me the option of searching for online templates. Let's say after I have put in all those designs for my personal budget, it just doesn't seem to really work well for me. I have a lot of nuances to go over, have other things I want to cover, and I just want Excel to do more for me. Let's search for a personal monthly budget. Looks like we have a couple of budgets templates here. Let's select this first one. As you can see, this is divided into two different spreadsheets. There's a Start tab where it actually gives you some instructions on how to use this template. And when we move over to Personal Monthly Budget, it has quite a bit already built in for you. All of the formulas here, for instance, here's a subtotal of, that would give you a difference, the total of the difference between this column. It has divided all of our expenses into nice, neat, different grids here. Housing, entertainment, transportation, and loans. It does a lot of the same things that we have just went over. We still went over creating a budget from scratch so that we understand the numbers a little bit better of what we're actually trying to achieve there, which is to divide all of those monetary numbers into the income, expenses, and savings categories for us to better compare them. I want to move back to our PowerPoint here to give everybody some upcoming opportunities. But before I do that, if anyone has any questions about creating Excel budgeting spreadsheet or any of the other questions in general, please send them to the chat right now. And I will go on to promoting some of our upcoming programs and the additional resources. For instance, Excel can be a little bit tricky to get, right? It's different from Word, where it's a lot more intuitive to put in your data and your sentences. So if you would like some one-on-one help, we have a service called Book a Librarian. You can ask for one-on-one assistance. We also have online resources that you get for free with your library card, such as LinkedIn Learning and Udemy. They offer you tutorial video classes as well as exercise files with experts and with community experts and teachers that can lead you through all of those exercises step by step. We also have our program recordings on our PPL YouTube channel. A lot of those programs are repeated from season to season, so you can also toggle between different recordings and get all of the details that each instructor has went over. As for some of the upcoming programs, if you are more interested in computer skills on basics, we have a mini series, part 1 and 2, on 2 separate days at Haggard Library. It's going to be a ticketed program, so you want to arrive at the library 30 minutes prior and acquire a ticket. Part 1 will be Saturday from August 12th to August 12th at 3 p.m. and part 2 is 1 week later on the 19th. If you're more interested in financial literacy programs, we have one called Shame-Free, Debt-Free on Thursday, August 10th at 7 p.m. at Harrington Library. We're going to discuss how to be a more financially stable, even if you have loans to pay or debt to pay. And really, this is not something that you should feel ashamed of. It's just part of our financial life in modern days, and there are ways to combat it and deal with it. Finally, we have a class called Investments, Understanding Risk versus Return. So if after you have hit all your financial goals of savings and expenses, you have any discretionary fund that you want to use for investments, here are some brief introductory for you as well. One disclaimer is that the library will not offer you personal financial advice. This is just an introduction to the concepts. This one is a hybrid program, which is available both virtual and in person at the Davis Library. If you're doing this virtually, you want to register online through the Plano Library website. It's going to be on Thursday, August 17th at 6:30 p.m. All right, well, that's all from me. This is 1 minute away from, it is 1 p.m. I don't see any questions from the chat, but I'm going to leave it up for a minute or so if you have any other questions. If you have questions that may not be able to answer right away, here's my email on the screen, yifang@plano.com. Feel free to shoot me an email or use our online Ask a Librarian service for any further questions that you may have. All right, thank you everybody for joining the class today. It is lunchtime, so have a great lunch and we will see you around.